Good morning, everyone. My name is Phatcha from Aesthetic Restorative and Implant Dentistry, Chulalongkorn University. Today, I would like to present my research work. The title is a comparison of shear bond strength between different types of resin cement with additional universal adhesive on human dentin. My advisor is Dr. Varirat Chengpapakon, and my co-advisor is Associate Professor Pravesh Serichetpong. Okay, and first is the introduction. Bonding to dentin has always been an issue in dentistry. Dentin contains fluid and the surface is permeable to water, which negatively the effects of the bond adhesion. So the very first generation of the resin cement had so many components to overcome the complexity of bonding to dentin. It was quite complicated procedures and technical sensitivity. Then the novel the novel resin cement systems have been developed to simplify the clinical use, such as self-adhesive resin cement. They are less technical sensitive compared to the conventional ones. But the problem is that self-adhesive ones has relatively poorer bond strength to the tooth. The study in 2 centers in Switzerland compared the different resin cements, and this showed that the self-adhesive resin cement had the lowest shear bond strength compared to rinse and self-adhesive systems. But some methods are suggested to enhance the bond strength of self-adhesive resin cement. Osdogan and the colleagues studied the effect of Nd:YAG and femtosecond lasers and universal adhesive on human on the shear bond strength of self-adhesive resin cement on the human dentin surface, and this study found that the use of laser combined with applying 10 MDP containing universal adhesive drastically improved the adhesion between dentin and self-adhesive resin cements. And next is the super bond, which one of my material in my study also. It is a self-curing resin cement based on acrylic resin technology. Unlike composite resin cements, Superbond has no inorganic fillers such as silica or BCMA, making the structure low in hardness and flexural modulus as compared to the composite resin cements. And also green activator or 10% citric acid with ferric chloride is the main difference. It can etch hydroxyapatite alike phosphoric acid, but the ferric chloride helps minimize the degradation of the collagen in the zone of decalcification. So the objective of the study was to evaluate the shear bond strength between an acrylic resin cement or self-adhesive resin cements with and without prior universal adhesive application to human dentin. Next is material and methods. 35 extracted human third molars were collected and stored in 1% calamine tea solution. Then the teeth were free from caries, restorations, and previous endo. The teeth were used within 6 months after extraction. The roots were cut and placed in the PVC mold, then pour the self-curative resin in the mold. Then the dentin surface was prepared according to ISO 29022-2013 by 2-step sequential planning process using P100 silicon carbide paper, followed to expose the superficial dentin, followed by P4000 silicon carbide, 400 silicon carbide paper, then clean the surface with ultrasonic cleaner in the distilled water for 10 minutes. Then for group 1, the Reline XU200 was applied on the dentin with micro brush, and the resin composite cylinder was placed and pressed by the 1 kilogram of force, and the excessive cement was removed with a micro brush. Then perform photo activation for 40 seconds from the side and another 20 seconds on the top of the composite cylinder after unloading the loading device. For group 2, the procedures were quite similar to group 1, but required additional pre-treatment steps. as single bond universal adhesive was applied on the dentin with a microbush in a self-etch mode according to the manufacturer, and then follow the protocol of group 1. For group 3, we changed the cement to Panavier SA luting multi and used the manufacturer's recommendation. For group 4, we combine the Clearfield Tri-S bond universal quick with Panavier SA luting multi. The steps were quite similar to group 2. For group 5, we use Superbond CNB. The dentin surface was treated with green activator in the Superbond kit, and the components were mixed according to the instruction using bulk mix technique. Then the cement was applied on the dentin, load the composite cylinder, and left for the complete polymerization for 8 minutes under the 1 kilogram of loading. Then all the sample was stored in the 37 degrees Celsius in the incubator for 24 hours, then subject the thermocycling process for 5,000 cycles. Then the samples were tested with the universal testing machine from Shimatsu, Japan. The notch of the crosshead was aligned directly over the composite lot and flush against the tooth surface. The speed of the crosshead was set at 1 millimeter per minute, and until the bonding was detected, the result recorded was in megapascal. For the mode of failure, it was inspected under the stereo microscope at 40x magnification. 3 failure modes were seen in this study, including adhesive failure, mixed failure, and cohesive failure. But cohesive failure in this study found only in resin cement layer, not in dentin structure. Then the data was analyzed using SPSS version 20. The Shapiro whip test was to test the normal distribution of the data, and we used one-way ANOVA and Tukey post-hoc analysis to compare the mean shear bond strength values. P-value less than 0.05 was considered significant. Next is the result. The highest value was obtained from group 2, which was significantly higher than group 1. But group 4 didn't perform higher shear bond strength than group 3. And when considering only non-universal adhesive groups and superbond, or group 1, 3, and 5, there are statistically different in shear bond strength value. For the failure mode, it was shown in the graph here. Group 1 and group 3 show mostly adhesive and mixed failure, while group 4 and group 5 mostly showed cohesive failure and mixed failure. And group 2 found only failure, cohesive failure in resin cement. Next is the discussion. The result of this study showed that Superbond had the highest bond strength as compared to non-universal adhesive treated groups. This could be to the property of the ferric chloride in the green activator that can prevent the degradation of the collagen fiber at the decalcification layer. Takakaki et al. Found that ferric ion absorbed dentin had a significant increase in bond strength to MMA resin as reported in this study. On the other hand, self-adhesive resin cements cannot encapsulate the collagen network and form an authentic hybrid layer. So these resin cements adhere to the dentin weaker than the superbond system. But with single bond universal adhesive coating, it shows almost double in the shear bond strength. Has et al. Found that a single bond universal adhesive coating, it can promote a dense uniform hybrid layer. Also 10 MDP in this adhesive can ironically bond to the calcium ion in hydroxyapatite and form a nanolayer calcium salt. This study found that Real X U200 performed better shear bond strength compared to Panavier SA luting multi. It could be that HEMA monomers in Panavier SA luting multi, which is hydrophilic, could lead to poor bonding. Dr. Nishiyama et al. Showed that HEMA was hydrolyzed in aqueous acidic solution. Also, the high water absorbency of HEMA resulted in weak mechanical properties and poor bonding durability to the teeth. The result of combined its universal adhesive and Panavia SA luting multi failed to show the higher bond strength. It could be that the lower pH of Clearfield tri-S bond quick compared to universal single bond universal negatively affects the chemical polymerization of the resin cement. Maumann and the colleagues state that the low pH of adhesive system negatively affects the bond strength on dentin when using chemically activated resin cement. In general, the high shear bond strength groups mostly show cohesive failure, and the low shear bond strength group, okay. In general, the high shear bond strength groups mostly show cohesive failure, and the low shear bond strength groups predominantly show adhesive and mixed failure. Superbond C and B benefits the anti-adhesion with a strong bond, but the low flexural strain property could lead to cohesive breakdown in the resin cement. Here is the conclusions. 3 resin cements had this significantly different shear bond strength in this study, and coating with universal adhesive did not give a negative effect to self-adhesive resin cement, but one group showed positive effect as single bond universal combined with Relay XU200 yield the highest shear bond strength in this study. But without adhesive pretreatment, Superbond showed the highest shear bond strength. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for a nice presentation. So may I start the Q&A session first by my question. So actually the result from group U200 with single bond universal is pretty interesting. But just because you don't have a parallel test groups that receive no or a longer thermocycling challenge, so we cannot 100% say that the increase in bond strength of U200 will be long-lasting. So can you please give us your opinion on the durability of the increased bond strength of the group U200 with the single bond universal?
Well, that is the limitation. Because of the time limitation, I can only perform the thermocycling process only 5,000 cycles, which relating to the 6 months of the shearing process. Then it might not relate to the real restoration lasting in real life that we expect to last more than 10 years, but this is only 6 months. Then this is quite a limitation.
Yeah, so what do you expect then if you could have a longer thermocycling, or if you just like a no thermocycling group, so we can compare for the result between immediately after cementation and like after 6 months, because you have 5,000 thermocycling group, so we might see some change, might not be that significant different, but there might be some trend that we can see. I'm not sure, that's my opinion. So it might be better to have some comparison, not only between group, but inside the group of the material itself. Yeah, so that's just my comment. So the question is open from anyone from the floor. If you have some curiosity, just raise your hand or type it in the chat box, so we can have the Q&A session go on. Is there any question? If nobody has something else to add, shall I move to the next presentation? Shall I?